They're all saving one, or most of the Hampshire fielders are saving one. Somerset need one run. It's Edwards to Hildreth. He's there and bowls Hildreth, and he gets the run away through the onside, and Somerset have won. They've won the Royal London One Day Cup.
Hello, you're listening to Always Look on the Bright Side of Life. This is the Somerset Cricket Podcast. My name's Ian Shepherd, and joining me this evening, I've got Steve Tancock, Dan Kingdom, and the voice of cricket on BBC Radio Somerset, Anthony Gibson. And, well, 2 innings victories in a row by an innings and plenty. Defeating what was, to be fair, a slightly depleted Gloucester side, but unless Graham Van Buren was planning on getting 2 triple hundreds when he batted, I don't think that made too much different to the margin of victory. An innings and 246 runs. Somerset's second highest victory in terms of runs in their first-class cricket history. Dan, what was the first?
It was
Leicestershire 2007 at Taunton.
Yes. Leicestershire 259.
So, Anthony, when you said to Jason Kerr down at the Oval, things are going tits up, what are you going to do about it? He obviously didn't want another trip to the headmaster's study, and they have pulled their fingers out with pretty spectacular results.
Well, I think, a bit of credit to Lachlan Stevens, don't you?
Absolutely.
New batting coach, and they put in twice and get big scores on the board, and bat once, bat big, bowl the opposition out twice, easy game. But I asked Jason what had made the difference at the end of play on Saturday, and he said, it's 100 plus opening partnerships. Just sets up the whole of the rest of the batting order. Whereas last season, time after time after time, Tom Over was coming in the first half dozen overs, and James Hildreth not long afterwards, and so on and so forth. And Lammonby and Renshaw really looked the part as an opening partnership. They bat very well together. They complemented each other. I think Lammonby's learnt a lot from batting with Renshaw, and it's made all the difference in the world to the rest of the batters coming in lower down. And the bowling is as good as ever. And and that goes right across the board. They all bowled really well at Bristol. Jack Leach was absolutely outstanding on a pitch that really wasn't helping him very much. It was just a great all-round team performance.
You were up there Saturday, Dan. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it. But one of the things that struck me about the game is we bowled them out twice, one by an innings and 240 odd, and Craig Overton, by his standards, had a pretty quiet game, which kind of filled me with a bit of confidence for if we do lose him to England, in the England Test squad for a few championship games. What were your thoughts about the game?
Yeah, obviously Craig, first innings, he's only just under 4 and over, not really like him at all, and didn't take any wickets. Obviously, he was seemingly struggling with an injury, and obviously we were all a bit worried, I think, when he went off on Saturday morning. Thank God he came back on and did take a couple of wickets in the second innings. He looked a bit better in the second innings, I think. I thought Gregory bowled well as well. He was a bit expensive at times, but he just visibly looks a much better bowler. He's struggled at times, as we know, in the last sort of year and a half. Like against Warwickshire, his pace was up, and he took wickets, and he looked good to me. Leach, incredibly impressive. Adds another ground to his list of where he's taken a fifer. He's taken plenty of fifers away from Taunton. Some people may not believe it. As Anthony said, just an absolutely comprehensive win against a team that was obviously depleted, but they're still a good side. They've got some very good players. James Bracey, Marcus Harris, in particular, got them out reasonably cheaply in both innings. All went well from there.
But Steve, there is a problem that we need to address, and that is Jack Leach cannot bowl to left-handers, and he does not take wickets in the first innings. What are we going to do?
Well, it's the classic lazy narrative, isn't it? Can I just slightly off tangent? Steve James wrote in the Times on Friday a really good piece. He'd done a long interview with Jack Leach, and I'm not going to say anything about it other than there's a link on the blog, or just go on and search for it. But it is really quite moving. And I tweeted that if
I didn't think my respect and admiration for Jack Leach could get any more. And then I read that, and it's gone up a quantum leap. And the link to that in my brain is that Leach is saying that he actually feels confident in his body this season for his medical issues, his Crohn's issues, which maybe he hasn't for a couple of years. And he quoted coming through the Australian and West Indies tour without any medical issues as being really important to him. And to me, from a distance and watching on the stream, etc., he looked like he felt he was going to take wickets, like, back when he was bowling in tandem with Don Bess a few years ago. Control was good, and everything went right, didn't it? Because I think I've watched that Tom Abel catch to get Bracey straight after tea on Saturday about 50 times now on repeat, because it's just a stunning catch.
It's a worldie.
And that's the sort of thing, when the world's going with you, they stick, and when it's not, it just scoops over your head and it's gone away for 4 or something. But yeah, and the beauty of it is, Dan mentioned we were all worried when Craig went off. But if you look at the overs the others bowled, it wasn't a huge amount, because Leachy bowled, 45, 46, best part of overs. And the others were all in the teens in both innings. Josh Davey only bowled 14 and that bit of an over of Craig's he finished. So given that they're only in the field for a day and a half, weren't they? So... hopefully all fit and raring to go again. When I say I was really disappointed with Gloucestershire, I wasn't. I was delighted with Gloucestershire, but I was surprised at how poor they seemed to be to me.
Well, they were missing an awful lot of first choice players. It was like us against Hampshire. It was like us against Hampshire. There were 6 or 7 first choice players down, and then to lose your captain out injured, so he can't bat in either innings. I mean,
Jacob Betham scored best part of 100 runs in the game. You take those runs out, and it really would be a very sorry performance.
It was pretty dull. You got a feel for old George Scott as well. Fields for 150 odd overs and gets nailed first ball. Like Peter Siddle. Oh well, we shouldn't. It's nice to enjoy a bit of Schadenfreude at the Gloucester's expense. As you said, we had to deal with it first game down at Hampshire. And I was just thinking about this before the season started, really. For you to win the league, a lot of things have got to go your way, and you've got to avoid the pitfalls of things not going your way. And I'm just wondering, have we endured too many pitfalls, thinking about the Hampshire game and the pitch we played Essex on, to mount a challenge? What are your thoughts on that?
It's going to be very difficult because the sides ahead of us, they're mostly pretty good, and they will probably produce pitches that are good batting wickets, guaranteed sort of high point scoring draws, and it's at Taunton. It's going to be we daren't really produce spinning pitches. And Jack Leach isn't going to be available much anyway for the rest of the season. And if we produce seaming pitches, we could get a repeat of what happened against Essex. So it is going to be very, very difficult to climb up the table from here. We really needed to get a good start, and of course we didn't. And now we're playing catch up. And I think it was Steve said last week, if we finish third, we're doing pretty well. And I think that's a realistic assessment.
I mean, what's been pleasing for me about these last 2 wins is that the pitches haven't been particularly sporting. We've been inserted both times. We've got big runs, and then the pitch hasn't really deteriorated that much. Leach got a few to spin against Warwickshire and a few in the second innings against Gloucester, but I can't think of any of those dismissals where the ball has misbehaved to an extent that the batsman can blame his dismissal on them.
We genuinely bowled the opposition out 4 times in those 2 games, haven't we?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, the Division 1 table at the moment, as I'll wake my phone up as it's decided to lock itself. So Somerset currently sit 6th on 56 points. Surrey and Gloucester will both played 6 games, so they're top and bottom respectively. They don't play this week. Surrey top with 105, Lancashire 85, Hampshire 81, Yorkshire 76, Warwickshire 62, Somerset on 56, a couple of points ahead of Northants and Essex respectively. Kent are on 40, and then Gloucester's bringing up the rear on 35. So Yorkshire play Warwickshire this week. We take on Hampshire down at the Cooper Associates County Ground. So it's conceivable we could possibly leapfrog one of those if the results go our way and we get enough bonus points. So going into the break, we could potentially be fifth and top half, which after the start we had, I think we'd have bitten the cricket in God's hands off to get that.
I think this game on Thursday, starting on Thursday, is going to be a real test. And it's, I'm not trying to be negative about two great wins, but Warwickshire didn't impress any of us. Gloucestershire were, if you're being charitable like Anthony, very depleted by injuries. If you're being anti-Gloucestershire, as I always have been all my life, poor. If we beat Hampshire, who I think we all think are a top three side, the top three, you're still going to have to persuade me that Surrey, Lancashire, Hampshire aren't going to finish the top three. If we can get a good result against Hampshire, I think that will give us a lot of confidence going into the break. And other teams in the division will probably be looking now and going, "Oh, hello, Somerset are back." They're all scoring runs. People must be talking about Tom Abel. We said a few weeks ago, didn't we, about his form, and all of a sudden, what's that? However many runs, it must be about best part of 400 runs in his last 4 innings.
150,
two big hundreds and 2 50s.
Yeah, so getting
or 420, I think, something like that.
We do seem to have a good old slugfest with Hampshire, don't we? They stuff us, and then we stuff them, and then they stuff us, and then we're on top against them. So I think previous form says that we're two pretty evenly matched sides, and I think it's going to be a really decent contest starting on Thursday. And as you say, we do have to give some love to Tom Abel. Another big 142 against the old enemy. Had a life on 52. I don't think that was really a turning point in the game given the margin of victory, but so nice to see Abe's batting well again and being able to smile during a post-match interview.
Yeah, and he is batting as well as I've ever seen him. He's made a few technical adjustments. He's opened up his stance a little bit, and his trigger movement has changed slightly as well, and it just seems to be working, although it was a very fortunate let-off when he was 52, because, as slip catches go, they don't come much easier than the one that Miles Hammond put down at second slip. And actually, I mean, another very important ingredient in the last 2 wins has been Somerset's catching, which has been quite brilliant. Tom Banton put one down at short leg, but it was a very difficult one. And other than that, they were all taken against Gloucester, and some of them were really, really. I mean, Tom Abel's obviously was spectacular. The one that Craig Overton took off Jack Leach, low down at second slip, just managing to get his prehensile. There you are, prehensile right arm.
That means stretching, doesn't it?
It does. But I mean, that was a fantastic catch, and every time the ball goes in the air with a Somerset fielder anywhere near it, you think this is going to be a wicket. They're that good.
Just goes to show the momentum of good performances and victories. Done it all of a sudden. You're playing with confidence. You're expecting to take those catches. You're walking out to bat expecting to score runs. You're bowling. You're not necessarily expecting to take a wicket every ball, but if you're just putting it in the right place, ball after ball, and bowling to the plan, the rewards will come. I mean, I was just speaking to Steve before we started recording. I said, what we got to moan about this week? There's literally nothing to moan about. Somerset have stuffed the old enemy. All the other results in Division 1 were draws, which obviously helped our progression up the table. The seconds beat Worcester today. Is there anything to be negative about this week?
I've got something I'm slightly concerned about, that Tom Abel's running around the county ground with a wheelbarrow now. Obviously, hitting balls with the spades helped him immensely, but I'm not too sure I'm that happy about our captain running around with a wheelbarrow trying to catch balls thrown up near a bowling machine, I have to say.
Well, I'll tell you what, when I was there for the Warwickshire game a couple of weeks ago, Tom Abel looked more mobile with a wheelbarrow than the blokes fixing up Gimlet Hill did. There was quite a few.
They weren't doing much, were they?
There's quite a few tea breaks. I can't hitting a cricket ball with a spade. That'd just be like digging out a Yorker every ball. It'd just be bat jar after bat jar, wouldn't
dead.
it?
Jars up your arm, I would think. It can't be any way to time it, can there?
No, I mean the latest one he's catching a ball with a wheelbarrow and he's wearing a helmet just in case there's an unfortunate ricochet off the wheelbarrow into his face. Which would be a classic way to get injured, wouldn't it? Jason, why is Tom Abel not playing this week? Well, he was trying to catch a cricket ball with a wheelbarrow and it rebounded and broke his nose.
I think it's already been pre-recorded, thankfully, so I think it's safe to assume he's okay.
Yeah,
I'd like nominations for what they're going to ask him to do next, and I hope it doesn't involve cranes or cement mixers or rollers of any description.
It's got to be, can Tom Abel finish Gimlet Hill in time for Thursday? Let's hope he can. Right. Yes, moving on from the Bradford's promotional videos of they're getting Tom Abel to do increasingly more and more ridiculous things. England squad is going to be announced in a couple of days' time, I think. I don't want to chat too much about all the changes going on up at Lords, but what do we think the chances are of Craig Overton? Notice I said Craig there, and Jack Leach getting involved.
Well, Sajman moves out for the season, I saw today.
Yeah, lumbar fracture.
And Ollie Robinson, I think, had another injury issue playing for Sussex. So,
yeah,
you would imagine if there's going to be consistency in selection, that he's going to be in the squad. Although my favourite moment of the weekend, apart from the Tom Abel catch, was James Anderson getting Joe Root neck and crop yesterday.
That was a beauty.
And the way he celebrated was pure class from Anderson, I thought, because if it had been me, I think I'd have celebrated a lot more. But you've got to assume Anderson and Broad will be back in the side. But I can't see a way that Craig won't be in the side.
Yeah,
certainly in the squad.
Yeah, sorry, I meant the squad. Yeah,
Wokes,
Jack Leach, I'm not so sure about.
Yes, Wokes.
Well, who else is there?
Wokes isn't around, is he?
Yeah,
Wokes isn't fit.
Yeah, Wokes isn't fit. So who else does that leave? Wood isn't fit. Stone isn't fit. Archer's not fit.
No, I think Craig is certainly in the squad. Sam Curran can't bowl.
No, that's the thing. I think there was discussion about maybe he'll be back in time. Well, yeah, I don't know. I think there was some discussion about him possibly bowling in time for the New Zealand Test, but Surrey's Championship games have finished now, aren't they, for a bit? So he probably won't have enough.
Jamie might be in there. Jamie might be in the squad.
That was what I was alluding to, Anthony.
Yeah, I know it was.
Yeah,
he's bowling as well as I've ever seen. Well, probably better than I've ever seen him in the sense that he doesn't bowl at least one bad ball and over, and he doesn't lose his rag if he gets hit, and he's bowling really, really quick as well.
Yeah, he can bat. He got another 90 odd the
94.
other day.
Yeah,
and looking around for genuine quick bowlers around the circuit who are fit at the moment, there aren't that many.
No, there aren't.
So we could possibly see Jamie taking Craig's place, which I'm sure would.
Well, I'd go for another one of my all-time favourite county players who doesn't play for Somerset, and I think we ought to clip this bit and send it to Dave Bracegirdle. But I'd think about Luke Fletcher. Seriously,
he's never an England bowler. He's a lovely bloke, but
do you know what? He's the sort of bowler, though, that I know what you're saying, but he's the sort of bloke. He'd play a couple of Test matches, and I see him as like a bowling equivalent of David Steele from the mid '70s.
I'd put him on a par with Jack Brooks
because he's got to be.
Jack Brooks will be in the England squad then.
Fletcher's early to mid 30s now.
Yeah.
He's got to be getting on there, isn't he? So
carries a fair bit of lumber as well.
He does. Adds to the character.
Well, if you go beyond Craig and the people we've mentioned, Jamie has got to be at the top of that next group because you've got like the likes of Jordan Clark, Tom Bailey.
Matty
else?
Potts as well.
Matt Potts
Matthew
as well. He's
Potts,
taking
yeah.
stacks of
It's been
wickets.
rumoured
Division
for
2
the
wickets,
press.
but
Potts,
he's
yeah.
taking stacks. He's taking pots of wickets. Hey.
But Jamie's got the X factor.
He plays for
He's got
Surrey.
the X factor. No, he's fast. He's quick. Potts is a he's a good bowler, but he's typical English seamer. Whereas Jamie, can propel it down there at 90 miles an hour. There aren't many who can do that.
It would be a proud moment for Somerset and Devon if we had
It
both Overton twins playing in a test match.
Absolutely.
Just a quick point. Of the 11 seamers that England have used in the last few years, I think 8 of them are injured at the moment, or in the case of Tancock, not bowling at full pace and bowling, the usual number of overs.
So if 8 are injured, that's Craig, Broad and Anderson.
So yeah, Craig
fit.
Broad and Anderson are the only 3 that are fit, I think. Sam Curran, Wood, Archer Stone, Robinson, Wokes, Mahmood and Fisher, all injured at the moment. Which just is an indictment of England's pace bowling, how they manage their pace bowlers.
Well, it's a very, very revealing statistic.
Who's Rob Keegan a hire as conditioning coach? Because that's a very alarming bit of news.
Because if most of them were fit, I think Craig would be struggling to play a test this summer because, we all saw him bowling the West Indies. He wasn't really at his best, was he? I don't feel like his performances in the West Indies really warranted continued selection if other bowlers were available. But the fact that Sonia actually means that Craig might go back in again and get another chance.
I think they'll play Broad and Anderson properly now. I think they'll just play them both in every game, and then when they're done, they're done. I don't think they'll carry on this farce of only playing one and rotating them and try. Because how long can you extend a 39-year-old bloke's career for? Do you know what I mean? Are you trying to get an extra couple of test matches out of him when he's 45? It just doesn't. It just he just needs to play every game, and then when he's done, he's done. As far as I'm concerned, the same as Stuart Broad. He's 35, 36 now. Play, rest if you need a rest, but. Oh, Anthony's mobile. We're getting a tour. A tour of Gibson Towers.
I'm trying to cook my supper at the same time.
Steak and chips again tonight?
No, pork chop.
Oh, pork chops, lovely. Local Langport pork?
Yeah, just up the road.
Oh, lovely. Did you kill it yourself? If anybody knows a good farmer, it's got to be you, Gibbo. Yeah, and then Jack Leach as well. Do you think they'll? I mean, it obviously helps Jack's case that he's put in a really good performance up at what's it called, the Seat Unique Stadium. Are all the seats unique there, Dan?
Yeah, they've all got special patterns on. It's a bit like Wetherspoon's carpets. Every seat is different.
It's funny because they all look really grey and dull and boring to me on the live stream. But
yeah, the ground itself is a bit. It's not my favourite ground, Bristol.
Before we get on to Jack, when I was watching the live stream on Saturday afternoon, I'm still injured. I still can't play, so I scored for our club on Saturday. But I had the live stream kind of with the sound turned down, and the score wasn't working.
Very wise.
The score wasn't working on the live stream. It was kind of stuck at whatever Gloucester's first innings had finished on. So it was really difficult to tell. I think it wasn't working on the app either. So I will be corrected if I'm wrong. What I think was happening was the Gloucester scorers play cricket wasn't working, which in turn I think feeds the ECB app and feeds the live stream. So I don't think somebody sits running the ECB app typing in every time there's a run going on. And then all of a sudden they got it working, and you just saw the score going up ball by ball every 4 or 5 seconds, and eventually it got there. So it was quite difficult to watch, kind of not knowing what the score was and having the sound out and not hearing if there was a wicket or anything. Because I don't know if anybody's ever scored with the radio on, but it is really difficult to not put stuff in from the radio onto your laptop or into your scorebook. I've done that a couple of times and never again. So Anthony, if I just shoot you a message. Next time you're on the radio, can you just say, and in the Somerset game, Tom Abler's hit that one for 4, just so I can be, be a little bit, just so I can separate the two in my mind. Anyway, Leach versus Parkinson. It's done Jack the world of good, getting a few wickets, good wickets as well. We touched on earlier that the falsehood that he doesn't take wickets in the first innings and he can't bowl to left-handers. But Matt Parkinson does seem to be the a bit of the flavour of the month now. And if they are going for this so-called Red Bull reset, do you think they'd get rid of Jack and play Parkinson? They could possibly play no spinner at all.
That's more likely, I think, than Parkinson being preferred to Jack Leach. I think, Jack Leach is... I asked Steve Kirby about it because it seemed to me he was putting more energy into his action. And I asked Steve whether that was... He said, no, he said, it's just rhythm. It's just rhythm. And I think it's confidence as well, going back to the Steve James piece. Mm-hmm. And the confidence that he's got now, that he's fit. Remember a couple of seasons ago, he was sort of tossing the ball from hand to hand, and
we thought he had the yips.
He did, sort of psyching himself to bowl up to bowl. There was none of that against the Gloucesters. I thought he really, really bowled very well. He was varying his flight well. He was putting quite a lot of revolutions on it. There was a little bit of dip. He was aiming for the footholds. He really made the most of what was available to him. And what was available to him wasn't, the sort of wickets that we got at Taunton 3 or 4 seasons ago, the old Hyderabad stuff, where all he had to do was land it in the right area and the pitch would do the rest. He had to work really hard in that last game. And I thought... in his streets ahead of Parkinson. And
the other thing that links the two conversations together is, I was saying, he bowled so many overs and he bowled with control. And if you've got Broad and Anderson and a couple of less experienced seamers in an England side, having Jack Leach who can do what he did at Bristol, which is just not just, in the old parlance, hold up one end, but be a threat from one end and keep it tight. You can then rotate the likes of Broad, Anderson, the 2 Overtons or something. Wouldn't that be lovely? At the other end. So, absolutely. But I just get the feeling from reading stuff that Matty Parkinson, who's been shamefully treated by England, I've got to say, in the last couple of years.
I completely agree with you, Steve. Even with the Somerset, promoting Jack Leach out and genuinely wanting Jack to play for England. Parky carrying the drinks for 4 or 5 tours he's been on now and not getting a game. He's been absolutely shabbily treated by England. But just going back, spin bowling is the one aspect of cricket where confidence and rhythm and being loose plays such a massive part. If you've got any fear, any tension in your body, trying to bowl spin it just makes it so much more difficult. Speaking from my limited experience as a former leg spinner, I can tell you that there are days when you just feel $1,000,000 and everything you try, you worry about your action. Everything you try comes out. You landed it on a sixpence, and then other days, you're just a bit tense. You're not quite there, and you're struggling to hit the cut strip. Not that I'm saying Jack would ever struggle to hit the cut strip, but it just makes a massive difference. And that article was I think I retweeted it.
And Don Best seems to have got himself into a place where he bowls incredibly economically, but he can't seem to take many wickets. It's not. In the last couple of games when the Yorkies needed him to bowl, Lancashire batted for the best part of a couple of days, didn't they? And I can't remember what his exact figures were, but it was really economical, but not many wickets. I think the other thing, just to finish off on the Gloucester game, how well timed was the declaration? Absolutely, it's like being in opposition in politics. It's so easy to criticise the declaration because you're not the one making it. But I think they got that absolutely spot on. Surrey decided to keep batting and batting and batting, and it cost them dearly. And I think Tom Abel absolutely. I know the others would have been involved, but I think they absolutely nailed that.
Yeah, there's much more of an art to the second innings declaration than the first innings declaration. They're infinitely more difficult trying to weight up time left in the game versus runs you need. But it was 500. Once you get past 500, you're thinking when is the best time to declare?
I tell you one other thing from the Gloucester game, and that was the comparison between Bracey and Abel. Which did Bracey no favour
at the moment, is he? He can't play a run at the moment.
Absolutely. Abel is head and shoulders a better player than Bobby Bracey at the moment. And I don't know what's happened to Bracey, but he was all over the shop. He could have been out any number of times.
His
And he
confidence, though, that
he
was...
was out. The LBW that wasn't given. The Peter Siddle LBW, but no, it's Tom. I the last thing I want. Well, no, it's a stupid thing to say. The first thing I want is for Tom to play for England, but it wouldn't do us many favours just at the moment. And the chances are that he'd get included in the squad and then not actually play. But I think he needs a few more runs under his belt before he's ready, so that he's really earned his place in that England middle order through weight of runs. In the same way,
Harry Brooks is ahead of him at the moment, I think.
Yeah, Harry Brooks and Ollie Pope as well. I think they're bound to be in the lineup. But if Tom keeps playing as he has done the last 4 innings, it won't be long.
And we could lose 3 to England.
Just a point about England squads. If you remember, pre-COVID, England test squads for home matches were generally 12 or 13 players. It would just be a reserve seam bowler or 2. So if we're going back to that this year, then hopefully it won't be the case that a batter will be in the squad and then end up having to carry drinks or whatever. It may be that a seamer might have to do that. But I'm pretty sure pre-COVID, seamers, the 12th man that was named in the squad who didn't play, I'm pretty sure they were usually released back to their counties. So with COVID restrictions now being...
And you'd have a member of the ground staff would do the sub-fielding, wouldn't they? The only thing that has changed, though, is the concussion sub. So I don't know whether they want to have the concussion sub at the ground, or they're prepared to just maybe wait an hour or 2 for them to jump in the car from whatever ground they're playing at.
Yeah, 2019 Ashes, there were concussion subs allowed, and that was obviously pre-COVID. I don't recall there being players at the ground missing matches for their counties to be a potential concussion sub.
It was only Marnus Labuschagne coming off of Steve Smith, wasn't it? And obviously the Aussies, they were in the tour. He was in the touring party anyway, so we shall see. But yeah, it's normally what we name in the county squad, isn't it? It's it's the 11 you think you'll play, plus a couple of bowling options. You don't really select an extra batter, do you? Not usually in the squad. So it's normally a 13 of the batters that you know are going to play, and then a couple of bowling options. Whether you're going to play 2 spinners, whether you want an English style seam bowler or somebody with a bit more heat. There we go. Anthony's clattering around in the background. How's the pork going, Gibbo?
It's all right. I'm just putting the potatoes on.
Oh, lovely stuff. Right, what else have we got? Shall we have a quick chat about the seconds today? They played a T20 friendly against Worcestershire. Banton didn't get very many, but thankfully that was Jacques Banton and not brother Tom. Couple of interesting things I picked up from that game. Casey Aldridge didn't bowl but opened the batting. So I don't know whether that's a long-term thing or he's just got a little bit of a niggle that means he can't bowl. Oh, thank you, by the way, Anthony, for putting the mystery of Tom Lammonby not bowling to bed on whatever day it was up at the Seat Unique Stadium. He's got a niggle in his ankle, isn't he? Which is why he's not.
Yeah, right. His right ankle.
He seems to be in the wars a bit. Ankles, fingers. It's not stopping him scoring runs.
His fingers still bandaged up. Yeah.
But the big question which seems to have cropped up is Ollie Sale has played in all the Championship second 11 games, but he hasn't featured in either of the 2020 friendlies. All 3. We had 3, didn't we? We had 2 against Gloucester last week and 1 today. So I've not heard that he's injured. He was,
according to our man on the spot, Mr. Unwin, he was bowling in the nets with Kirby today.
Did Mike Thatcher over?
I haven't been able to establish what sort of role they see for Ollie Sale in the blast, whether he's going to be the death bowler, which was being lined up to be.
Well, if he was going to play any sort of
producer for Behind the Wyvern, I think.
Yes. Oh, I asked. That was. I did mention that on the members forum with Gordon Hollins and Caroline Herbert, the commercial director, and Ben was hosting, and I did just posit that they like to start calling it the Dragon, as it is a dragon, and Ben kind of was like, oh, I know you're on the podcast, and I don't really. We've kind of adopted this, kind of called the Wyvern now, and like, well, we shall keep fighting the good fight, Gibbo. I'm going to get the
We will.
I'll get the T-shirts printed this week. It's a blimmin' dragon.
How seamless was that to enable us to steer the conversation to the Behind the Dragon campaign?
Well, anyway, it's kind of steered away from the Ollie Sale was being lined up to be the death bowler in 2020, injured the whole of 2021, back in 2022, now seemingly not playing in T20s. You'd think if he was fit to bowl in the nets, he'd be fit to run out for 4 overs. Well, not even 4. They had plenty of bowling options today. He could have got away with bowling 1 or 2. So he does seem to be a little bit in the wilderness, Ollie Sale. He's nowhere near the championship side.
No. Do we suspect a loan spell might be looming?
As long as it's not to Gloucester, I don't mind.
Well, probably will be.
Well, I just wondered if he was having a net, it may be that he's going somewhere for Thursday, and therefore he's not playing T20 stuff. I don't know whether Mr. Unwin can enlighten us on whether he was having a red ball net or a white ball net, but never know.
They do like to be
Ben
very,
Green
they're
seems
very
to be
particular about that, aren't they? They always practice with the right colour ball, don't they?
Ben Green bowled well again today, and I mean he obviously didn't do himself any harm back into the last T20 season. Mm-hmm. It was a really encouraging performance. What was it? 9 wickets with 7 overs to spare.
Yeah, I've got the card up here. So
Will Smeed and George Bartlett put on about 80 odd. I'm only saying that because I've just subbed Mike Unwin's match report and put it up on the site. But yeah, they absolutely cruised home.
Yeah, Worcester batted first. They were 117 all out with a ball to go. Ben Green 2 for 17 off 3. Goldsworthy 2 for 13 off 2. Wicket apiece for Brooks, DeLanger and Max Waller. And then in reply, they strolled home. Will Smeed 54 not out of 37. Casey Aldridge opened the batting. I did have a look at a few of the highlight shots on MV Play. They were quite agricultural, some of the boundaries that he hit, but he made 19 off 11. And then George Bartlett 43 not out off 30 balls, and they won with 7 overs to spare. So it was
I want to know, Dan, when was the last time a Somerset second 11 unbroken second wicket partnership, both batsmen finished with 3 4s and 3 6s?
This is the first time that's ever happened.
Where was it? About an hour ago. I did wind you up with that on a commentary, Anthony, when I was looking. That. I was waiting until we got that 500 before I tweeted you. The last time we got 500 was about 2 minutes ago. And then I spent ages looking for the 600 as well. Both against Hampshire, both at Taunton, and then Hampshire both saved the game 400 for 4. Remarkably similar games. Right, so what else have we got to have a chat about? Just pop over to some listeners' questions. We've got a few good ones this week. Tim Knight says, who will provide spin in the Royal Under One Day Cup as Jack Leach and Roloff are in the 100? Goldsworthy. Maybe a bit of Max
Waller as well.
Max Waller, I don't think, is going to be at any 100 franchise this year, so he'll probably play
Matt Renshaw
cricket. So what have we got there? 1, 3? Did we say 3? Waller, Renshaw, and Goldsworthy.
Yeah.
So it'll be Waller. It'll be Renshaw and Goldsworthy. I don't think Max will play in the 50s.
He didn't last year.
He was at the Southern.
Technically, Max is only contracted for T20 matches.
Oh, is that?
That's only. I mean, obviously he was in the 100 last year, but didn't play. I mean, he might as well be available. You know, he wouldn't be playing in. Well, if he's not playing in the 100, he might as well be an option for us in the 50 over competition. I'm sure he'd be happy to be an option, but yeah, I doubt he'll play much. I mean, he might if it's a turning wicket. You know, gives us something different, doesn't he, as well? Rather than we might end up being sort of 4 medium. So just gives us something a bit different, doesn't it?
Yeah, and he's a quality performer as well. So yeah, I don't see any reason why Max wouldn't want to go. David Wyatt, given that we are pulling away from the relegation zone and our batters are all now getting runs, should we should be targeting a win? And if so, what sort of pitch should we prepare? I think this is for the Hampshire game. And if we leave plenty of grass on it, are we taking a big risk if we lose the toss given the Hampshire seamers? I think we covered this before pretty much, didn't we? We won these last 2 games on pretty decent wickets.
Yeah, same as Warwickshire plays.
Yeah, came a cropper massively when we prepared a green seamer for some unfathomable reason against Essex. So yeah, same sort of pitch as Warwickshire, please. Peter Wanless, did we overestimate the Gloucesters, and should this podcast be franchised? We'll come on to that in a minute. I think you get into trouble when you overestimate or underestimate anybody. You play the game ball by ball, and see what happens. Pretty much, if you focus too much on the end result, you end up looking too far ahead and not concentrating on the here and now, which I think was one of the reasons that Jason Kerr gave for the bad performances towards the end of last season. I think that was at a members' lunch. He was saying about we're focusing too much on the result and not too much on the process. And everybody knows about the old adage of batting, isn't it? Bat for 10 minutes, then you bat for another 10 minutes, then you bat for another 10 minutes, and so on and so on and so on. Bit of chat about the weather, the forecast, a couple of rumours that the forecast for the Hampshire game isn't looking too clever.
It's all right. Looks fine.
Yeah, I've seen the Met Office. It doesn't look particularly sunny, but there's not much rain forecast, so it could be a bit overcast. Where are we? Mike Unwin, question, is a 12 to 14 point draw now the norm for county championship games?
Well, that's a very good question. That is a very good question, because some of the county championship matches have been pretty dire in this first round. And everybody says, it's wonderful that, batsmen are getting big runs. But you've got to think about spectators. And, when you get 603 plays, 450 for 2 declared. I mean, what sort of a game of cricket is that? I saw somebody on Facebook yesterday saying, perhaps the answer is for county championship matches to go to 5 days. God save us from that. Cricket is supposed to be an entertainment, and county championship matches where there's no prospect of result because they prepare an absolute featherbed of a pitch. Does cricket no favours whatsoever. The ECB might like it because it's giving batsmen a chance of scoring big runs and testing bowlers out on flat surfaces and all the rest of it. But as I keep saying, the county championship is not merely a nursery for England players. It is valid in its own right, and it should be attractive and valuable and followed in its own right. Which was, of course, what KP and Annie Chave were arguing about.
We'll get onto that in a minute, Gibber. That's on the agenda. Don't you worry about that.
On Twitter, but I'm afraid I'm completely with Annie. I will yield to no one in my loyalty and support for England, but equally, county championship cricket is, it's a hugely important, historic, and vastly enjoyed aspect of the game, which is hugely valuable in its own right.
There seems to have been a bit of chat in the last few days. I think Sam Dalling was at Lord's for various cricketer and various outlets, and he wrote, I think on Friday, about the Dukes ball. And there does seem to be, Dukes have said that no, the balls are the same spec as the previous seasons, but I think people are maybe beginning to wonder where was it? I saw one match there were 22 ball changes in one game. I think it was the Warwickshire Northants game, which was 500 play 600 or something, wasn't it? But yeah, I think Mike's spot on in terms of what we're seeing at the moment. And I think if I'd have been with Dan in Birmingham, I think we'd have struggled on Sunday to persuade ourselves to go to Edgbaston to watch that. Much as we love cricket, I don't think it was a product we'd want to watch terribly.
597 for 6.
Not that I'm a huge fan of Edgbaston anyway.
Is this I suppose a hangover might be the right word, of pitches improving this season? And your dibbly-dobbly county bowlers not having the effect that they normally would on April and May green seamers? And is it worth taking this short-term hit of playing on better batting wickets and having to wait a few years for the bowlers to catch up?
That's good. One way of looking at it. I think another point is just that.
Sorry, Dan, go
on. I think another point is just that I think it just shows how difficult it is to balance bat and ball in terms of a pitch. Pitch, it's so difficult to get pitch preparation perfect. To produce a pitch that will give you a match that's over in 3.5 to 4 days, where there's a good balance between bat and ball, and the spectators will enjoy it. it's so difficult, I think, for ground staff to get that, to strike that balance, because the majority of county championship matches probably are skewed too far one way or the other, and that's I don't think it's entirely their fault. It's just that it's very difficult to do, particularly with our weather. I think our changeable weather conditions, having to prepare pitches in March when it's not not warm, makes it difficult as well. The fact there's so much cricket means that it's difficult to get every pitch perfect. There's not much preparation time between matches, all those factors. So I think it's just very difficult, and I don't think we're ever going to. I don't know, it's going to be difficult to find a perfect solution, I think.
No, you can't just pop a pitch in the microwave, stick it on for 3 minutes, and it comes out perfect. It's an incredible art, and I certainly doff my cap to anyone who's able to balance how you prepare a pitch. Because
I sort of agree with you, Ian. I'm just going back to what I was saying about the ball. I wonder if maybe what's happened is the pitches are favouring the batters, and the ball is also favouring the batters, or not as helpful to the bowlers as it was, and that might be a concern. But never surprised if all of a sudden there's more. The seams are prouder on the next batch of balls in the next round of games, or the next phase.
Say that they haven't been this lot of balls is exactly the same as, and they haven't been instructed by the ECB. I'm not groundsman, and I don't envy them their task, but if you look at the progress that's been made in greenkeeping in golf, where greens have got, I played a fair bit of golf, and greens, wherever you go, have got better and better and better and better and better. I played golf at Burnham this afternoon. Greens were immaculate, absolutely immaculate. And we don't seem to have made the same sort of progress with preparing cricket pitches as they have done in preparing golf greens. And I just wonder why that should be.
I suppose a golf green is you don't ever get a bat. The aim with a golf green is to get it as perfect as possible. So you're always looking just to make that 1% improvement. Let's get it flatter. Let's get it perfect. If you did that with cricket pitches, I reckon they could get absolutely perfect flat cricket pitches.
But what we want in golf is fast greens, and what you want in cricket is fast wickets. That is the key, and I don't see why it is so difficult to produce fast wickets in cricket with the climate that we've got and the drainage systems that are in place now, and yet nobody seems to be able. I mean, Old Trafford, I suppose, is probably the quickest wicket in the country, or possibly Scarborough. But you just, you don't see really fast tracks, whereas in golf, the greens have got faster and faster and faster, not just at links courses, but all over the place. And I do think that there may be a training aspect to this, or an agronomy aspect to it. I don't know, but if you get a fast pitch, it's good for the fast bowlers, it's good for the spinners, it's good for the batsmen, it's good for the spectators, because it's all happening. The faster the wicket, as a general rule, the better the cricket you're going to watch and you're going to play. And yet pitches do not seem to be, rather than getting faster, they seem to be getting slower. And
it would be interesting to circle back to this a couple of weeks into the blast and see whether there's any discernible, if we're sort of suddenly thinking 220 as a pass score as opposed to 190 or something. But that's, you don't know, do you? If
they'll be using hybrid pitches and short boundaries, and
it's to do with the type of soil, isn't it? The pace on a wicket.
Well, there are all sorts of factors.
You've got to keep it reasonably wet, because the one thing about the improved drainage is it does pull the moisture away from the wicket. So you've got to keep the square nice and wet, which means is that then making it a little bit slower. And I would say it's all about the balance, isn't it? It is a mystical art. I'm surprised it's not, if it would turn up as a class in the next Harry Potter film. Professor of Groundsmanship. One from Grumpy Git. Do we know anything about Craig Overton's knee problem? Is it a niggle, or do we think it's anything more than that?
As his father and Mark didn't know what it was. So I don't think it's anything very serious.
Fair enough.
But he bowled 11 overs in the second innings, didn't he? So you'd assume that if they were worried, they wouldn't have asked him to bowl second innings.
And finally, the best question of the week. Thatcher's Blood Orange Cider, this is from Alex Vaughan. Does it remind you of Iron Brew in taste and colour? And also, he's asked about cricket now. Do you think the batting coach has worked his magic already? I've not sampled Thatcher's Blood Orange Cider yet. So, Steve, Anthony, does it taste like Iron Brew?
I've never sampled Iron Brew, I'm afraid.
No, I haven't, but I've got to say it's a really nice drink for the right circumstances. And I'm waiting for a nice hot summer's evening because I think it's going to be perfect then. It's not as drinkable as a lot of Thatcher's, a lot of cider is all year round, but I really like it. And I know it might offend more discerning palates, but I'm very simple with my cider consumption if I like the taste of it.
Is it a bit alka-poppy?
No, that'd be unfair. It's just a sort of it's a bittersweet taste, if you know what I mean.
Oh, it's ideal for the Somerset fan then.
I would say perfect for the Evertonian up here as well, but I better not say that.
It'll go down well in North Devon. Thatcher's produce a specific cider, draft cider for North Devon, which is bright orange.
Oh, lovely.
And the blood orange cider is also bright orange because they like their cider in North Devon to be bright orange.
I've had some. I don't know if it's Thatcher's or not, but Diesel. That's lethal stuff. I heard it's got various names wherever you drink it. Cheddar Valley Red, Diesel. It's called in the cider bar in Newton Abbot. It's absolutely lethal stuff. Right, shall we finish on the Twitter arguments between everybody's favourite pundit Kevin Peterson and everybody's genuinely favourite journalist and county cricket lover Annie Chave. If you don't know, Kevin called Annie some quite insulting things on Twitter. This is all
mediocre.
Yeah, and then he doubled down. Hold on, I've got it here. No, I haven't. I think Twitter's gone on to... Yeah, I had it all lined up with various different Twitter tabs, and it seems to have just put them all onto the notifications for the questions. Anyway, so Kevin's idea is to franchise county cricket, which I presume would be to set up 6 new teams, whether they're 8 new teams, whether they're based on the same teams that play in the 100 or not. I'm not sure. And then
I've got what KP wrote. He said, "Oh, Annie, keep being mediocre. You're the exact type of person that embodies everything that's wrong with county cricket. So boring, so mediocre, so afraid of change." And then he goes on, "I'll apologise. You're actually very boring, very mediocre, very afraid of change, etc., etc." Which I think shows a complete lack of class. And I'm with Andrew Strauss when it comes to my opinion of Kevin Peterson.
I'm going to have to go, guys, but can I just finish by saying I think it's one of those things that says more about the writer than the subject or who it's directed at.
Yeah, definitely. When you resort to ad hominem insults like that, it really does show that you've lost the argument, or you've not got a case to back up your argument in the first place. Right, enjoy your tea, Steve. We'll love you and leave you. Thanks, everyone. Catch you next week.
Bye.
Cheers, Steve. Yeah. Cheers, guys.
So, playing devil's advocate, is there any merit to franchising county cricket?
No.
Because whenever you do something, you have to look at the benefits and the drawbacks. And he's technically right that if you did pull the best, 70 players out, stuck them in 6 teams, and then those 6 teams played each other, yes, it would be a good standard. But what are the drawbacks of that? And they are utterly numerous.
Yeah.
First of all,
you would lose a lot. That's the problem. You might gain something in the short term by putting the best players together, but there's so many other things that you'll lose from cricket. And in the long term, it might just mean less players coming through anyway, so you won't actually get much of a benefit. In the short term, yeah, of course, putting all the best players together will produce a higher standard of cricket. But in the long term, what if that means that players from Somerset no longer have a pathway to get there? If they don't have a local team to support as well, then they're not going to be as likely to get into cricket in the first place. It's just ludicrous, isn't it? And fundamentally, none of us want it to happen because we all want to watch Somerset play at a high level of cricket, and we don't want to become a feeder team. We don't want to stop existing. We want to watch our team play, the team that means a lot to us. And I think it's the same for every county fan, isn't it? Thankfully, I think most of cricket Twitter is united against Peterson. Most of, and obviously all county fans, none of them want this. So it's basically down to the counties. They need to just make sure that they don't vote themselves out of existence. So KP can just be ignored.
Yeah. I mean, the England football team haven't won the World Cup or haven't won a major tournament since 1966. So where I don't see ex-players on Twitter, ex-footballers calling for the Premier League to be franchised and, the top, putting all the best England players into 6 teams and they all play each other in a round robin. It's just... It's going to kill the pathway if nobody's going to... if your county cricket is now reduced to watching effectively a second 11 like we see in the Royal London One Day Cup, that's going to die. If your short format game is the 100, that's possibly going to kill off... That could expand and kill off the T20. It's... Oh, we've had a tweet.
I just saw that.
Somerset Cricket tweeted... Let's settle this once and for all. What would you like the SCC crest to be called? I'd like it to be called what it is, Benjamin. A dragon. Oh my God, 61% have voted Wyvern. That's only 18 votes. That's only 18 votes, though. It doesn't matter. It's not what you like it to be called. It's what it
bloody dragon.
It's what it bloody is. Worcestershire are not the avocados. Glamorgan are not the what's another yellow flower? The petunias. Yorkshire are not the daisies. Anymore, Middlesex are not the steak knives. What's Sussex?
Martlets. They're not the Skylarks.
I think what's Kent? Is that a unit? Is
horses.
That the horses? Kent aren't the donkeys. Well, maybe they
White
are.
horse,
Yeah,
Black
so
donkey.
It doesn't matter what you think. It's a dragon. If you want to change it to a wyvern and call it the Wyvern, change it to a wyvern. But this
you'll have to change
to the one on my
that. It's a dragon.
It's a dragon. It's got 4 legs and wings. It's a dragon. Wyvern has got 2 legs and then sort of wings like a bat, hasn't it?
Correct.
There we are. So, we've had some comments as well. This is interactive. Wyvern, we aren't Wales. That was Nafila. Well, it's called the Somerset Dragon everywhere else. And Danny replies, I mean, because it has front legs, it's technically a dragon. Yes, it is technically a dragon.
Not. Yeah, it is. Technically.
It is, yeah.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, change it to a wyvern, and then we'll call it a wyvern. But as The Rock said, it doesn't matter what you think. That's a reference to American Wrestling, Gibbo. Not sure if you get that one or not. Anyway, what are we talking about? Oh, God, we're rabbiting on here. Ben interrupting the recording with a tweet. What were we talking about? Franchising and how it's stupid, and KP's... a very rude individual. We were talking about pathways, weren't we, before that tweet came through? I can't remember now.
Yeah, well, another point I want to make is that Kevin Peterson on Twitter was basically saying to Annie Chave that her opinion doesn't matter because she's never played the game at a high level. He was basically saying that because he's played the game, he knows everything. But what I'd like to say to Kevin Peterson is that you have never been a fan of cricket. You have no idea what it is like to be a fan. And you cannot see our perspective. He is just completely unable to see our perspective. And if he went to a few county games, chatted to a few people, went to some blast games, went to some county championship games, maybe he'd start to understand what these clubs mean to their fans and their communities. And maybe he would be a bit less keen to rip them all up.
I mean, this isn't you. I mean, I believe Annie has invited Kevin onto the County Cricket Matters podcast, which I believe is the 3rd best podcast after Charlie Taylor's and ours, which are joint first. I think theirs is 3rd. That was me blowing. That was me blowing our trumpet. It's a very, very good podcast, and yeah, Kevin has been invited on numerous occasions to have a proper chat about this with Annie and Sam and. Yeah, it hasn't taken that opportunity up. Just sitting, being a bit of a keyboard warrior. with no real, background to his franchising idea. It's just all very unseemly. And as you said, Gibbo, Andrew Strauss was right. Just don't do that when you're on BBC Radio Somerset next time, will you? Oh, right. That's KP shot down in flames. What's the latest update on the Dragon versus Wyvern poll? This is. Has anybody got a bot factory that they can use to? I count 79% Wyvern's up to now. If any of you are listening, give your heads a wobble. That's put me on a sour note for tonight. Right. Any other business before we knock this on the head? Don't think I've got anything else on my notes. Oh, Western Storm, Dan. They played up at Cardiff, didn't they? Yeah, so they played their first Charlotte Edwards Cup game on Saturday. Unfortunately, they lost by 20 runs. Amy Jones and Abby Freeborn scored 50s for the Central Sparks. Storm had a good start to their chase. They were 91 for 1 at one point. But they lost Georgia Hennessy and Sophie Luff in quick succession, and then unfortunately the middle order didn't have enough in the tank to get them up to the target. So a 20-run loss, which wasn't completely unexpected. I mean, Central Sparks are a pretty good side. I still think Storm have got a chance in this tournament. I think the Charlotte Edwards Cup is probably the tournament they've got more of a chance in compared to the Hayo Flint Trophy. Their next game is on Wednesday. Away to Sunrisers at Chelmsford. So that's in the evening, and it's going to be live streamed. So if anyone wants to watch some cricket on Wednesday evening, then that will be available. Happy days. Right, I'm just going to live reply to the tweet about whether it's a dragon or a wyvern. It's obviously a dragon. It's something to do with the old fan club, isn't it, Gibbo? So you.
Yeah. It was the supporters club. Back in from the sort of 60s onwards, they were the Wyverns. But the Mike Unwin has got a photograph of the Somerset official magazine from the 1960s, which is called The Dragon.
Yeah, I've seen that one. The official magazine of the club.
The official magazine, Somerset Cricket Club, was called The Dragon, and the supporters club call themselves the Wyverns because they're a sort of inferior heraldic beast. A wyvern is like a junior dragon.
I'm just going to reply with that picture to the tweet as well. See, people are going to be listening to the podcast and looking on Twitter, and they'll be able to see this is interactive podcasting at its finest. The latest score is let's refresh that. Wyvern 71, Dragon 29, 207. Should we keep recording until Dragon is winning, or should we knock this on the head for tonight? Right. You down for the Hampshire game at all, Dan?
Yeah, probably the Saturday and Sunday. I was thinking of going to Beckenham for the Western Storm game on Saturday, but because Somerset are doing so well at the moment, I kind of can't resist 2 days of Somerset in the Championship. So,
happy days. Yeah, I'll be up there as much as I can, and I'll pop in and say hello to you. And is Kevin James coming down? Kevin James coming down?
Yeah, Kevin will be there with perhaps with Emily Winter or one of the other Southern Vipers, isn't it? Southern
Vipers. Yeah, is that who Annie Shrubsole signed for now, hasn't she? She's left Western Storm and signed for those as a player coach. Well, I hope you've got the birthplaces of all the Hampshire and Somerset players committed to memory to restart your banter with Kevin James. But we'll call that a day tonight. An hour and 3 minutes of your time has been suitably wasted listening to us and natter on about cricket. For Steve, who's having his tea, and for Dan and Anthony, we'll catch up with you next time. But best of luck to Tom and the boys against Hampshire this week. And come on the Dragon!
Come on the Dragon!